this was a requested video from somebody who had been following my videos, and I think there could be a couple people in this boat, either brand new to fragrances and found my channel through other means and have been enjoying the ASMR, but do not really know a whole lot about fragrances. But it excites them, getting into it as well, and it's a wonderful hobby of mine. Fragrances make me very happy, and being a part of the community makes me very happy, so I was asked to do sort of a comprehensive fragrance note 101 on different types of fragrances and the notes, the most common notes, and different types of notes as far as what they put in what. So this list, I'm sure, is not perfect, but it's as good as I think it needs to be. We talk about different types of fragrances, over 10 different types of fragrances, and popular notes, what they are, where they come from, and what they're like. Okay. We have Freshies, blues, reds, greens, woody, fruity, gourmand, office, day, night, gem, boozy, leather, and tobacco. So let's just start off with the Freshies. I'm going to talk, explain a little bit, and then I have an example of each and every one of these that I think epitomizes the type of fragrance. First, Freshie. So, to me, Freshie is the same as soapy. I don't think it's a stretch to say that a lot of men probably got their start on these sort of freshy fragrances. They typically smell a lot like body wash, and they smell clean, and certainly back in the 90s and the 2000s, this is sort of equated with a good fragrance. Oh, it makes me smell like I just took a shower. Now, what's considered to be a good fragrance has totally evolved into the crazy notes and the heavy concentrations. But 20 years ago, Freshies were all the rage. So, if you go down your soap aisle at whatever store that you shop at, you'll see a lot of soaps and different soaps that include fragrance oils. A lot of those same fragrance oils and the soaps are used in fragrances like colognes and perfumes. And there's a couple of different notes that find themselves repeated quite frequently. The first one is bergamot. Bergamot is vanilla musk, bergamot, and maybe patchouli, the top fragrance notes utilized across the board. Bergamot is a type of orange. Its full name is bergamot orange. It's incredibly easy to harvest, plentiful fragrance note, and projects and performs. Bergamot's a little bit different because it comes off as non-discriminate citrus, almost a mix between like an orange and a lemon, and it's yellow. It's yellow as well, and so there's many ways that they slip in oranges. They do bergamot, which does not smell like orange, it smells like citrus, and then there's orange, which is a very strong note. It smells like juice, and then we have orange blossom, which is a very perfumey, powdery type of orange, very strong and bitter. And there's just many different ways, mandarin orange and whatnot, many different ways to do orange. But bergamot by far is the most utilized citrus and orange. So usually have bergamot, cedar, perhaps some slight florals, particularly in regards to more unisex fragrances. Patchouli. Patchouli is a shrub. It's a bush. And patchouli, very, very common in the base. So you have the top, the mids, and the base notes. The top notes is where all your citrus is going to be. And the thing with the top notes is that they go away. You spray your fragrance, and you get this huge projection from the alcohol burn. But within 15-20 minutes, you have the dry down. The top notes are totally gone. You don't even get the top notes. So you're left with the base notes, and then the mids are in between that section. That's why when you spray a lower concentration fragrance like an eau de toilette or even an eau de parfum, think that's a better projection performance than a parfum or an extrait, because of that first 15 minutes. The more alcohol, the more projection performance, but it's temporary because after the 15-20 minutes, it's just oil and it's much more closer to the skin. So patchouli is a base note that a lot of fragrances have. Belongs to the mint family, which is fooling because it is not minty. It's a bit earthy and one of those fragrance notes, again, that's very well utilized. So one example of a freshie is this right here. I think one of the most underrated freshies in the game, and this is Hugo Boss. I'm not sure which one they call this because there's a million different Hugo Boss mans. It's just Hugo Man. It looks like this in like a thermos. And this is masculine soap in a bottle. This is incredibly woodsy. A little bit of the citrus up top, but it's mostly these woodsy type of foresty kind of notes. And when you were talking about trying to get a freshie and just like you came out of the shower or something, this is the best fragrance that I can give you. You know, freshies should not be expensive. If you paid $200 or $300 for a freshie, you got ripped off. And these are great to utilize just going throughout the day, putting this on after bathing, kicking around the house, wearing it after working out. Youthful fragrances, typically cheap high schooler scents, middle schooler scents, starter fragrances. Dad, buy safe. Husband, buy safe. Very inoffensive fragrances. Now you'll find that certain scent profiles you're drawn to. I'm not drawn to freshies, so I have very few of them in my collection, but you'll find that these type of fragrances are oftentimes people's first fragrances that they get into because they're just easy, cheap, affordable, good fragrances. That's number one. Number two is blues. Number two is blues. The most mass appealing, the most mass marketed, the most commonly created fragrances, the most popular fragrances for men are blues fragrances. I didn't realize at the time when I was making this, until I was making this video, there's a lot of different ways to do blues fragrances. So I actually have a couple examples, but blues fragrances, first off, they're probably going to be blue. It's funny, so perfumers know, even if they don't. Even if you don't know, as a consumer, you look at a bottle, you can kind of assume. So like blues fragrances, you're thinking water, oceanic, fruity type of fragrance. You look at red fragrances, think spicy, you know, it's just subliminal messaging. And blues fragrances come in many shapes and sizes, but they're simplistic. They're mass appealing fragrances, and you got blues, and then you have ozonic, which I salt. Again, bergamot, seagrass, ambroxan. Now, ambroxan, whenever you see ambroxan is a synthetic version of a note called ambergris. And ambergris was very common as well back in the day. It is whale poop. Is the easiest way for me to tell you. It's not actually whale poop, but it goes through the same intestinal channel. It's very, very salty note, and because of the restraints on utilizing animal products, you can't have real musk, and you can't use real ambergris, so you have ambroxan. So ambroxan creates a sort of oceanic type of vibe, and then you have blues fragrances that go away from the oceanic type of fragrances, and you have lemon, you have fruity fragrances, you have lavender, ginger, mint. So I have a couple of different examples. Number one, the brand new release. I don't like blues fragrances typically. This one, though, is amazing. From the House of Mont Blanc. This is a Legend Blue Eau de Parfum. And this is one of the brand new releases. This will probably be in the discounter soon, I'd imagine. But you can also go and get it. I think I got this from Aura Fragrances, but Joma Shop I think has it as well. But a brand new 2024 release. This has spearmint, again, spearmint, mentholated, boom opening, lavender, cedarwood, sandalwood, ambroxan, and moss. This is a perfect quintessential blues fragrance. Performance is great, projection is great. These types of fragrances you wear during the spring and during the summer. I guess the first note is that wear these fragrances whenever you want to. Don't let anyone tell you, oh, you can't wear it during this time or whatnot. Wear what fragrances you want whenever you want, but there are certain times that they're meant to be worn and certainly work better than other times. And though these blues fragrances are typically worn in the spring and the summertime, but then we have a little bit more of an oceanic type of blues fragrance as well. I think one of the best blues fragrances, but it is a bit of a clone of Paco Rabanne's Invictus. This is Hawas by Rosacé. And I always say this every time I have the bottle out, but I'm not a huge fan of blues fragrances. And look at the dent that I made in that. I'm a believer. I was watching WrestleMania this year. I don't know why. It's been probably 15 years maybe since I watched pro wrestling, but I wanted to see how it changed. Funny enough, it didn't change. The same guys were in WrestleMania that I watched as a child, and Randy Orton and John Cena and everything. And there's a new guy from TNA, their world champion, Joe Henry, and his song goes, I believe in Joe Henry. And it's one of the catchiest songs you can imagine, but I believe in Rasassi's Hawas. It is a simple, powdery, bluesy type of fragrance. It's got the fruity citrus notes. It's got the mass appealing sweetness, but it also has a bit of that saltiness in there as well. This is just an incredible fragrance, and $35, maybe less. And if you want an oceanic type of fragrance, Aqua di Gio is great. If you want a niche type of oceanic, Every Storm Serenade is good. But it certainly is not my favorite fragrance profile, but this is almost like the Freshies, but with sort of ozonic notes. Great stuff. 3. The red fragrances. What do you think of when you think of red? Anger, passion, right? Like a bull. So, red fragrances are supposed to be spicy fragrances, passionate fragrances, sort of in your face fragrances, and they don't always get this right. I've seen, Perfume 360 red, not this way at all, right? So you can't always judge a book by its cover in that way if you're trying to get a spicy fragrance. Not every red fragrance or every fragrance in a red bottle is going to be spicy. Banana Republic, amber and dark cherry, red bottle, not spicy at all. So, but typically, when we're talking about these red fragrances, we're talking about either tobacco or spice. More often than not, it is spice. So, with these spices, when you think of spices, it's quite literally spices that you would put on your food a lot of times. I would say the number one spicy note, one that I can't stand, is pink pepper. Pink pepper is just like black pepper, but it's not as aggressively spicy as black pepper, but it's the same idea, same kind of makeup. I cannot stand pink pepper. Drives me crazy. And a good example of a pink pepper is Bleu de Chanel. Has a strong pink pepper opening. I can't stand it. But that's just my personal preference. I can't stand pink pepper. So many fragrances use pink pepper. It's the number one spice fragrance, I would argue. But then you also have black pepper. And black pepper is very common as well as an opening note. You might have a chili pepper. You might have a cayenne pepper. I started seeing cayenne more and more. Star anise is one of those. It smells like licorice. So it's one way for you to add in an additional spice. I've seen some with some Italian spices, but literally it's all the stuff you would flavor your food with, right? In a pepper format. And I've seen them kind of take the ball and run with it as well, with putting in new types of pepper. And the red fragrance I have for you to show you is a new fragrance. I think one of the best new fragrances of, I think it was 2024, 2023 at the earliest. But this is from the house of Hugo Boss. I love Hugo Boss, by the way. But there's only 2 in here. This is the second. I promise no more Hugo Boss. And this is the scent Elixir. Beautiful red bottle. You have red bottle, gold cap. And you're gonna laugh at this if you haven't seen this fragrance already, but this fragrance star note is pimento. Pimento. The type of pepper that they put in the cheese, yes. Another great red fragrance is Infrared, which is a spice bomb. Spice bomb is also spicy, but not like this. Spice bomb has cool notes, vanilla notes, gourmand notes, which we'll get to. Now, I know I just said you can wear whatever fragrance you want, whenever you want, and that's true to a certain degree. But if you're going to listen to my advice, here's the first piece of advice I have for you. Do not wear these fragrances in the heat. Do not wear them in the spring. Do not wear them in the summer. Do not wear them in the beginning of fall. They are terrible. So, certain types of fragrances resonate with us. Certain types of fragrances mix differently with our body chemistries and our sweat. When I smell a spicy fragrance and it's hot outside, it makes me unbelievably nauseous. It makes me disgusted when I smell spicy fragrance and it's hot. It's just not a pleasant combination. So this is just a pure spice. That one cuts with the vanilla notes, but only date night, only night out, only indoors, and only cooler months for these red fragrances. But I love red fragrances. I love fragrances. These red fragrances are just great. So they are a little bit scary because it does take some effort to pull them off and to know when to wear them. But the hard and fast rule is do not wear red fragrance. If you're going to be outside sweating somewhere, just don't do it. It's an awful idea. Next, another one of my favorite types of fragrances, greens, and you will see very underrepresented these greens because blues are so popular. People are like, why would I have a green? There's no reason to have green. But green fragrance is one of my favorite fragrances. And these fragrance is hold on one second. I forgot about another one I'm gonna put in here. I forgot to put in florals. Okay, anyways, we'll talk about florals, but another name for green fragrances typically is fougere. So, a fougere meaning kind of underbrush foliage type of fragrance, not woody at all, but sweet. And the reason why I say that about the blues fragrances, the green fragrances compete with the blues fragrances because they're utilized in the same timeline. So, with green fragrances, you often have grass, you have mint, you have tea. Tea is becoming a really popular one. You might have some spices. One of the most popular green fragrances of all time is Green Irish Tweed, and it takes a very spicy turn. Parfums de Marly's Galloway I think is the best fougere fragrance and green fragrance of all time. It's a clone, so maybe I should be giving more credit to Lalique because it cloned Lalique's white, but it has a bit of a spiciness to it as well. And this is another one of those areas as well. The fougere can take a bit of a turn and go fruitier and more playful, or it could take a turn and be a little bit more darker and incorporate things like soil. There's a fragrance from Zoologist called King Cobra that mixes cannabis and soil and moss and becomes very earthy. Those are not very mass appealing, and a lot of people hate that kind of fragrance. So with my greens, it's usually fruity and woodsy. So typically you have some fruit mixed in there, some bergamot, something like that. You might have some herbs, basil, thyme, and a note that I can't stand is vetiver. But vetiver is very common, and if I'm not mistaken, it's a type of grass classification. You also have like bamboo and stuff, and it gets a little out there, which is another type of grass. And this crazy bamboo grass. I never thought of it as a grass, but it is. But mixing them all together, trying to come up with something very, very nice. And in my mind, when I was thinking of what green fragrance I want to use, it was a no-brainer. And this is from the house of Guess. And this is Guess Man Green. And I always have to apologize when I'm doing this one because I can't show it to the camera because it's so reflective. But this fragrance has a huge fruity note, and it uses a type of wood called wormwood, which is, I don't know if I've ever seen wormwood used in any other fragrance. Yeah, I'm not sure. This is one of the first fragrances that I fell in love with. this is a quintessential greens fragrance, and I love this particular fragrance. Guess Green is incredible. But I prefer the grassiness, the nature-esque notes combined with the fruity notes to make a green fragrance, as opposed to the fruity notes combined with oceanic and ozonic notes to make the blues fragrance. It's my personal preference. But certainly in the realm of likability, Guess Green gets it in certain terms of likability, blues fragrances win every day of the week. Excuse me. So, you just don't see as many green fragrances. Another really good fragrance, if you're trying to get a green fragrance, a fougere fragrance, is Train Nuit. Train Nuit is by Armand. Very strange looking bottle. It's a triangle with a leather strap on it. It's the best $22 you'll ever spend. It is a sweeter version of Green Irish Tweed and projects and performs like you would not believe. $22 Armand Train Nuit, Tres space Nuit. Incredible, incredible fragrance, green fragrance. So next we have woody fragrances, and a lot of fragrances have some sort of a wood note in them, so this one requires a little bit of a further clarification. It's not where we are integrating wood into the notes. It's the wood is the notes. These are the stars of the show, and there's actually fragrance houses out there, Pinewood, that do nothing but in these woodsy note profiles. But when you see a lot of the woodsy note profiles, they are a little bit divisive. They're definitely not the most mass appealing fragrances. And the top two woodsy fragrances is Oud, O-U-D. They've done a pretty good job of synthesizing that now. It's very expensive type of wood that is used heavily in Middle Eastern fragrances because Middle Eastern fragrance houses are so prominent now in the market. Oud has become pretty popular. And then number two, I would say you have sandalwood, santal. So Le Labo, the reason why that brand became famous was its hit fragrance, Santal 33 was it, and it's a sandalwood. The sandalwood is another type of masculine fragrance, which blew my mind. There were so many women that wear Santal 33 because throughout history it has been viewed as a masculine fragrance note, and it's been put in all the kind of beard oils and masculine hygiene products. Sandalwood is, it's resinous, it's gritty, it's, in my opinion, a very masculine, woodsy type of note. It's not like an evergreen that has a sweetness or a mintiness to it. It's bitter, sandalwood is. And if you ever want to try a true sandalwood fragrance, Santal 33 or one of its clones, sandalwood is the star of the show, make no doubt about that. And then, I guess we skipped over Oud a little bit. Oud, the profile, is a little bit different. In order to create a synthetic profile of oud, they have to take from other notes. So oud smells different depending upon where they get the oud and what they synthesize it from. A lot of people hate oud. They think that it smells like dog turds or wet dog. They hate it. It's stinky, it's smelly. They call it animalic because it reminds them of dog poop. But to my nose, oud smells very sweet. And it does not smell like woodsy. You know, if you're thinking of maple or cedar or something like that, sort of a classic, or sandalwood, a classic sort of woodsy, evergreen type of note. Oud is not that whatsoever. it's because oud is very minimal in the base note, and there's a lot of pleasing aromas and notes that accompany it. Oftentimes, it is paired with leather and just super not mass appealing, and it takes a certain person to like those notes. But in the woody notes, you also have patchouli, oftentimes put in these woodsy fragrances for more of that woodsy, resinous type, amber is another fragrance note. Amber is a type of resin that you get from a tree. So amber is constantly used. It's also very sweet, and to me anyways, I love amber. And then incense is another type of resin. So woodsy notes, they look very different. I love incense, I love amber, but I don't necessarily love the pine or the cedar or traditional woodsy notes. So just find what you like. But oud is expensive, and oud is utilized by a lot of high-end niche and designer brands. This one house is Tommy Ballwood, and this is oud wood. And this is a good example of a very oud-forward fragrance and a very woodsy note fragrance, because there's multiple types of woodsy notes in here. And this is a fairly mass-appealing woody aroma because Maison Francis Kurkdjian, oud satin mood, very oud-centric, and people hate it. Not that people don't hate this, but this includes a little bit of those other woody notes, and so you're getting oud, but you're also getting some of this more traditional side of woodsy notes that you're familiar with. But Tom Ford oud wood, a very pleasant fragrance. And I do not like sandalwood, so I don't own a single sandalwood fragrance merely because I do not like sandalwood. There's nothing wrong with sandalwood. It's just not my personal taste. Even when I was using like beard oil and stuff, the sandalwood just didn't really do anything for me. But this is an amazing fragrance. I grab it and I go. If I'm in the classroom teaching, I might grab oud wood just on my way out, it's a fragrance I can apply and not have to think about it too much, just grab it and go. The next one is fruity. So there's so many different ways I could have gone with this one. These fruity fragrances, I don't even know what we're up to. Let's go back. Number 1, Freshie. Number 2, blues. Number 3, reds. Number 4, greens. Number 5, woodsy. And number 6, fruity. Number 6. There's so many different ways you can go with fruity. It's funny, there was a yearly fragrance awards, and one of the categories is fruity, and it's like, I remember doing that, looking at that, saying, what does that even mean? Because every fragrance has fruit in it. Every fragrance is fruity, it seems. So, but these fruity fragrances are truly the star of the show. Very energetic fragrances, and again, they can come in a couple different shapes and forms. They can either be very citrus based, or they can be very fruit based. And a good example of that is Herba Pura by Xerjoff. It's not citrus based, it's fruity, but it's not citrus. But then you have Pacific Chill, and all Louis Vuitton fragrances actually are very citrus based. They sting the nose, and they project, and they perform, and they're almost gourmand. It smells like you can drink them. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do these citrus and fruity fragrances. Bergamot. You're still gonna have bergamot. Lately, lemon has been very popular. Armaf, Odyssey, Lemonelli is supposed to be very good. I don't like lemon-based fragrances, but lemon is very popular. Next, red fruits. They might just say red fruits like dark opium over red, which typically means cherries, strawberries, or raspberries. Raspberries pair very well with leather, and cherry pairs very well with tobacco. And so they will base whatever red fruit they're using off of that. You have green fruits like kiwi and grapes. You'll have rich, deep, complex fruity notes coming from something like a plum. I don't know why people don't use plum more often. The only real house I know that uses plum is Tommy Ford, and that's the only designer house I know that uses plum. There's some niche houses, but no, they're usually not the star. Fig is one that people are using more of now, and so is mango. People are starting to use more mango and pear, but I don't think pear is overly successful, so I think they kind of push it to the side. You also have blood orange. Dolce & Gabbana's The One Gold is one of the best orange, particularly blood orange based fragrances out there. It's an incredible fragrance. Very heavy on the blood orange, which is a very resinous, complex, deep orange. It's not citrus. It doesn't sting the nose. You know, it's very neutral, very level, very dark, complex orange profile. So there's so many ways that you can do fruity, and fruity is also one of those types of fragrances. I guess I missed the boat on the woody one. If you can wear woody fragrances all year round. Some people would advise against wearing woody fragrances in the summer. I don't really think so. Go for it, and you do you. Fruity fragrances can be worn all year round as well. It just might change. I might go for something more of like a plum or more of a complex fruit note in the fall and the winter, and I might just pick an overdose of sugary fruits for a summer or spring fragrance. But a lot of these fruity notes, they come in yellow bottles and white bottles and neon colors, because the fruitiness and the citrus elevates the mood, gives you energy. And I can think of no better fragrance to demonstrate that than the new Versace Eros Energy. Truly a fruity fragrance. Fruit is the name of the game here. Fruit is the star of the show. Fruit is the centerpiece. Opens up with a really strong citrusy pineapple smokiness. If you're familiar with Aventus, the opener is very similar to it. However, in the dry down, it is a strong lemon citrus type of juice. Smells like you can drink it. Similar to God of Fire by Stephanie Umber Lucas, similar to Pacific Chill. It's not complex, it's not rich, it's just fruity, it's fun, it's energetic, and it's playful. And I really like this. I was an idiot. I bought this for full price when it came out at $110 or something like that. Now you can get it for like $50, which is an absolute steal for a fragrance of this quality. And right after its release, of all things, right after its release. So number 7. Oh, yes. Wow. I am excited. 7 is my favorite type of fragrance profile, and that is the Gourmand. A Gourmand is a type of fragrance that resembles food, consumable fragrance notes, and this is the number 1 most popular fragrance profile for women, not men. Men don't list this as their most popular note profile. But if you're a man looking to impress a woman, Gourmand's where it's at. So there's so many different ways Gourmands can go. You know, you can actually say that Eros Energy is a Gourmand because it smells like you can drink it. You know, it smells like a food, but typically rich, complex, spicy cakes combined with boozy notes, balsamic notes, and so when we're talking about Gourmand, typically leading our way to date night fragrances, cold weather fragrances, I would not advise wearing Gourmands in middle of the summer outside, for the same reason as I don't advise the reds and the spicy ones. So here's some things you can expect. Honey, one of the best fragrance notes. Ojan or CK1 Shock is an eau de toilette clone of Ojan. Incredible compliment, boosting magnet. Apple Crumb by Alexandria is a clone of it, does it really good as well. Praline. Praline is a note that you're starting to see on just about every Gourmand fragrance, particularly those that contain boozy notes. Praline, candy type of nougat bar that goes in very well, mixes with rum cognac kind of notes. You can see this in the new Angel Share Paradise. They added 2 notes to the new Angel Share, raspberry, praline, just those 2. It's a really good note. The number 1 most popular Gourmand. Number 2. Number 2 most popular Gourmand note, cinnamon. Cinnamon is also very popular, spicy, aromatic, fragrant, beautiful note. Of course, it's cinnamon stick, all of these things. There's no secret meanings behind these. These are exactly the type of notes that you're familiar with from the consumption-based standard, right? Sugar. Sugar is one that's constantly used to boost the sweetness. And the number 1 most utilized Gourmand note is vanilla. They did a poll. Vanilla comes from a bean. Vanilla is the number 1 most loved note by men on women, and men love vanilla as well. So, and women love vanilla, and women trying to smell good for men pick vanilla. So, like, vanilla is very, very popular. Caramel is another one, which is burnt sugar, right? Chocolate. Now, this is one of those that you're either gonna like or you're not gonna like. There's no one that I've met that's so on chocolate. You either love chocolate note because it smells like chocolate. Do you want to smell like chocolate? I don't, but do you? The new one I'm looking at getting Odyssey Dubai chocolate, which is a type of candy that they have. Actually, Dubai chocolate is the name of a consumable candy. It's a fragrance that smells like that. Choco musk. I'm not a huge fan of that note, and until very recently, it was not utilized as the main player in a lot of fragrances, but a lot of fragrances have been using it, jumping on that bandwagon, and been doing very well with women, and so it's one that's not going away. Coffee is one that's been fairly consistent. Kamra's Kuhua is, Kamra plus a coffee note. Probably the best Gourmand fragrance you can buy for under $30 is Kamra's Kuhua. Incredible fragrance. Spicy Gourmand coffee. If you want a really good coffee fragrance, I recommend Halloween Man X. Again, less than $30. Incredible coffee fragrance. And it's energetic, happy coffee, not like the other, Kuhua, Gourmand, rich and complex, balsamic, meaning like sticky and sweet type of fragrance. And then a lot of times you'll have amber and musk in these Gourmands to kind of flesh it out, make it a little bit more complex. Filthy musk. It works both ways. Filthy musk by Born to Stand Out is heavy musk with a vanilla base, and it smells like a trapper's truck that drinks a lot of like vanilla lattes, and so it smells like a bunch of dead carcasses with vanilla lattes in the back. Somehow it works. It's a really good fragrance. But I love Gourmands. Women love Gourmands. It's the number 1 most purchased fragrance by women is the Gourmands. Number 1 most complimented fragrance for me notes are vanilla and honey for me. If I'm wearing a fragrance with vanilla or honey, or vanilla and honey, forget about it. You know, there's gonna be some compliments. So that is Gourmand. Number, I think we're on 8, right? Number 8. Oh wait, I didn't talk about my fragrance. My gosh, what a sin. The fragrance that I have here is from the house of Killian. We have Angel Share, and Angel Share is the fragrance that kicked off all of the Gourmand hype with Camera, and Lattafa saw it, and they made Camera and the two flankers, and became the second most popular women's purchase, and men love it as well. It's a boozy, sexy cinnamon type of fragrance. Very gourmand, very rich, very complex, very spicy. And this is the one I was saying, their sequel, Paradise, or Paradis, contains raspberry and praline. So, interesting. Okay, number 8. We have Office. Office fragrance is very similar to the Freshies or the Blues fragrances. If you think about the least offensive note profile, you have office fragrances. Office fragrances are going to be chill. They're not going to be projection monsters, performance monsters. They're going to contain lots of good notes, lots of not offensive notes, no leathers, no tobaccos, no incense, no resins, no gourmands. It's just going to be basic, the definition of basic bergamot, cedar type in the base maybe, and some fruitiness. That's about it, right? Very simple fragrance. Something that's not going to get you reported to HR, something that no one can complain, oh, I'm getting a headache, oh, I'm having an allergic reaction, something that's very, very simple. And a lot of really mass appealing fragrances like Paco Rabanne's 1 Million and whatnot, they could be a good fit for the office, but a good way to know what is an office fragrance is just to know what is not an office fragrance. No spice, no boozy, no tobacco, no leather, for God's sakes, no leather. So, I picked the most non-offensive fragrance that I have in my collection, and this is from the house of YSL. This is myself. Eau de Parfum. This is Super Blast of Bergamot. Fresh, clean, lasts 5 or 6 hours, projects great. Nobody hates this fragrance. There's people, especially when it came out, people are like, really, $180 for this? That's different than hating the fragrance. Nobody hates this fragrance. You can't. There's nothing in this to hate. It might not blow you away because it's not doing anything crazy, but to me, this is the quintessential office fragrance, because it just doesn't do anything crazy. Office for Men by Fragrance One is just a clone of Ultramol by Jean Paul Gaultier. So go ahead and get yourself that, or Roms. Lattafa's Rom Silver is a wonderful clone of Jean Paul Gaultier's Ultramol. So is Afnan's 9 p.m. is another really good one. Less than $30, you can have a great office fragrance. And yeah, 9. Okay, 9. We have Date Night fragrance. One of my favorite ones as well, because there's a lot of gourmand that goes into typically date night fragrances. Obviously, date night fragrances be more so worn at night throughout the year, but just at night, evening wear back. When they used to wear a lot of suits, right? In the old days, in the 1800s, you used to have different suits. You have a day suit and evening suit. You put on the evening suit, you put on the date night fragrance, right? The same concept. So, date night is rich, it's sensual, it is something that balsamic, sticky, sweet, gourmand type of fragrance, perhaps spicy fragrance, perhaps if you have your leather fragrances, pull them out, bring out your aphrodisiacs which get the fires burning, if you know what I mean, like your vanilla notes, or your chocolate notes, or your amber, or your musk. I used to think musk was a masculine fragrance note, and now I don't anymore. There's so many women's fragrances containing musk. Women like musk. It boggles my mind, because I don't even like musk that much. To me, it's too masculine. But what do I know? Cinnamon, patchouli, and then, women really like floral notes as well. So I wouldn't put it past a couple of date night fragrances to have neroli in it, to have iris in it, and to have different floral notes in it as well. I don't like floral notes. So to me, my date night fragrance is a gourmand type of fragrance, or a spicy, rich type of fragrance. I had one picked out and I decided not to go with it, but Spice Bomb Extreme was my date night go-to for the longest time, but I have a new winner and I have it here to show you. This is from the House of Initio, and this is Side Effect. This is an incredible gourmand, spicy fragrance. The thing about Initios, I don't know if they have it on here as far as, it says 80% volume, meaning that 20% is oil concentrate. It's very oily. It does not project that well. But the great thing about a date night fragrance is that it's intimate setting, so you don't have to have a fragrance project. In fact, if you have a fragrance that's over projecting, it might turn the other person off. Side Effect by Initio. Great. What a date night fragrance is not. Put into Boozy. You can get away with the tobacco sometimes, especially if the person likes tobacco. Do not put in your leathers until you know that that person likes leather. You can end a date very quickly by showing up and smelling like leather. Some people get very nauseous around leather. So be a little bit careful, err on the side of caution when it comes to that. But Side Effect is a fragrance that I don't believe I could ever be without in my collection. So Initio Side Effect. And because of that, it does get fairly limited wearing, because it does have a very specific purpose. Okay. Now we're on to 10. Correct, 10. And this is Gym Sense. It might sound stupid to wear fragrance to the gym. I don't think it is. I love wearing fragrance to the gym. I'm also a bit of an idiot, and I typically like to wear expensive fragrances to the gym, not because I'm trying to show off or anything, but I equate gym fragrances, energetic fragrances, oftentimes fruity fragrances. And my favorite fruity fragrances are expensive. Aventus, for instance. My go-to gym scent for a long time was Leighton by Perfume. So many things can work with the gym. They're kind of like freshy and fruity combined. So they don't have to be expensive, and it's a good thing if they're not. Curve by Liz Claiborne. I've been using Midnight Hour by Banana Republic, which smells like Aventus with a mango note. If you see this in the wild at Burlington's Ross, get it. Don't even think about it. Get it. Midnight Hour, Banana Republic. The one that I have here for you is a very cheap one that I like a lot. Masculine Soap Freshy fragrance. And this is from the House of Azzaro. This is Azzaro Sport. I put a bit of a dent in this thing. I'll continue putting a dent in this thing. This is a bluesy, freshy, soapy fragrance. Now I've been using a lot of fruitier. I've been using Imagination. I use Pacific Chill. I use Greenlee. Got a Fire to go and use as gym scents, overly citrusy fragrances. This is not overly citrus. This is more on that freshy, soapy side. But those are what I think of when I think of gym scents. Cheap scents. Masculine, soapy, but then I also like energetic, so I might use Eros Energy as a gym scent one day maybe. But that's what the these gym scents are. But don't be like me and pick expensive gym scents. It's a waste. You're gonna sweat, the fragrance is gonna dissipate, and you just sprayed yourself down with $5 of fragrance for nothing. Just don't do it. And if you do, wear fragrance to the gym, spray on clothes. Don't spray on skin because the sweat's just gonna make it go away. Next, we have 11, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. Bop, 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 bop. We have Boozy, Boozy, Boozy. Boozy is a type of Gourmand, but I believe it truly needs its own category. Angel Share, very boozy. Very boozy, but there are boozier fragrances in this. In fact, one of them is by, actually a couple of them are by Killian. Killian's very boozy fragrance note. Black Phantom, incredibly boozy. Old Fashioned, all boozy. Apple Brandy on the Rocks, again boozy. Very boozy house. A couple different types of boozy notes you can expect. Rum. You're not gonna see like vodka or something like that. Rum. Cognac. And these are the two mixed with, you also see mixed drinks. So things like, margaritas or daiquiris, or just, there's a fragrance made by Maison Margiela called Jazz Club. And the top note is just mixed drinks. And it's just sweet. It's sour and fruity, and that's the top note. So you have this type of boozy note. But then in addition to this, you typically have additional notes. It's not just boozy. You'll have cinnamon as part of a gourmand. You'll have the praline. You'll have smoke. You'll have vanilla, the newest. Ladava's Camera. It's called Dugan. It means smoke. So you see smoke and liqueur being put together a lot these days. And it works quite well. Smoke and liquor, liquor and smoke. Jazz Club actually did that too. It was ahead of its time. Maison Margiela is the best performing eau de toilette and concentration fragrances you'll ever find. Unbelievable. That and Coach. Coach is very good as well. But the fragrance that I have for you here is an incredibly alcohol forward boozy fragrance, and it's not a gourmand. Although I suppose it is, because you can drink, right? Drink the booziness, but it's not what you think of when you think of gourmand. There was a fragrance that was called Pure Malt by Mugler. They sold out to L'Oreal, and they sold their testicles with them, and L'Oreal canceled all their best performing, best fragrances, and this is one of them, Pure Malt. But luckily there is a clone out there by Starman, which is an offshoot of Fragrance World. You have Starman Nebula, and this is less than $20, if you can believe it. It's not a very popular fragrance profile. Malt liquor, if you can believe it. Oh my gosh, the second that I smell this, I can see why it might not be everyone's favorite note profile. But I kid you not. The second that I smelled this for the first time, it was love. It was love. No, I don't drink. So I'd imagine perhaps if I knew exactly what malt liquor smelled like, at the back in my mind all the time, I might feel different. I appreciate this for its fragrant profile. There might be people out there that smell this on me and think I'm a rabid alcoholic. I'll take that chance, because I just love this profile. And of course, what does it smell like? It smells like malt liquor. Which I never thought that I loved until I got this fragrance. Truly a gem. This is one that I'm going to be getting a backup bottle of very soon. It's stupid not to. It's less than $20 fragrance. So good. Fragrance World has some banger clones. Imperium is another Fragrance World release that I like better than Elysium. Oftentimes they is going to take a little bit of time to explain. This next one is leather fragrance. So many different ways that they do leather. First off, leather is one of those notes you cannot extract. There's no such thing as extracting fragrance from leather. Leather, by its very definition, is dry and lacks oil. In fact, you have to oil the leather because it has none. So they use different notes, synthetic notes, to make leather. Sometimes they are using purely synthetic leather, other times they're using soil, nature-esque type. I can't remember what they call it. It's non-animalic virgin or something like that. I can't remember what they call it, but there is a word that means that they got the leather profile from non-animal sources, because some people don't like animalic leather. And then there's leather derived from animal products like civet, castoreum, which is a beaver anus. Castoreum, civet. First I'll go over civet. Civet's like a tiny little, like, marsupial. I don't think it's not a marsupial. It might be a rodent. But it's known for its musky qualities. And then there's Hyraceum, which is Hyraceum is from the hyrax, which is another tiny little rodent-looking thing found in the Middle East, and it poops. And it poops in the same spot over and over and over again. They have this thing called Hyraceum. And the Hyraceum is fossilized poop from the hyrax animal. And they put this in the fragrance note. So, and then you have the castoreum, which is the anal gland, or next to the anal gland of a beaver. And if you think that's gross, that you're spraying yourself with poop, feces, and the beaver anal gland. People used to eat beaver anuses. Castoreum has a very vanilla-like quality, so they used to use castoreum in synthetic vanillas. Now they have actual real synthetic vanillas. They don't have to put beaver butt in it, but people used to eat beaver butt. Pretty gross. And of course you didn't know that. If you've ever had artificial vanilla going back 50, 60 years, you might have had it too. But these are the type of animalic notes. So when you talk about leather, you can have something that's totally not animalic at all to being incredibly animalic. Zoologist does animalic notes better than anybody else. Hyrax I was disappointed with. Rhino is crazy good if you're looking for an animalic fragrance. T-Rex is good, but it's too smoky for me, and camel is the best, I think. Sloth is a animalic fougere, leathery animalic fougere, if that's possible. There's so many good offerings from that house, but using a lot of feces to achieve those note profiles. So it's no surprise with that you have different designations for leather, and you have leather as a base note that just blends right in, and then you have leather notes that it's all about the leather. These are few and far between because they are not mass appealing fragrances. Fragrances like Dior Parfum, the leather is in the base. Memo Bear is African leather, the leather's in the base. It's not in your face. It made me sick because I'm compiling the best 10 leather fragrances. People went to this and put in that Cherry Punk from Room 1015 as a great leather fragrance. I about lost my mind because there's no detectable leather in there at all. And people don't like leather fragrances so much that they say that fragrances containing the least amount of leather possible are the best leather fragrances. What's a good leather fragrance? I don't want to smell the leather. This is what they say. But you also, on the flip side, have what they call true leather fragrance, which means the leather is the star of the show. It leather jacket or a new car smells. The suede is a little bit lighter, both of them being leather notes, of course, but dark leather is a little bit richer. So, with this, these true leather fragrances, they have fruity notes that accompany them because they're so rich and complex, and you have pineapple being one of them, and raspberry, the most popular leather fragrance that everyone's tried to emulate is Tuscan leather, but Tom Ford opens up with a raspberry note. Vanilla, you put vanilla and iris. There is little better in this world than leather iris fragrances of Valentino Uomo Intense. The Homme Parfum, the old edition, the original edition before Francis K got in there and screwed everything up. So, great fragrances. The one that I have to show you here is from the House of Tom Ford. It's not Tuscan leather though, it is ombre leather. And this is the Eau de Parfum. There is a Parfum version that I want to try, but I don't wear this fragrance enough to justify spending money on the Parfum version, if that makes sense. And this is a true leather fragrance. This is intending to be leather, all leather, nothing but leather. Tuscan leather and ombre leather have been cloned more times than any other true leather fragrance. I would reckon to say if there is any other leather fragrance, true leather fragrance, it's just a clone of Tuscan leather, ombre leather. Godolphin is a clone of Tuscan leather. Acqua di Parma's leather was a clone of Tuscan leather. All these little leather fragrances, go to TJ Maxx or something, pick up any leather fragrance that they have there. It's probably a clone of Tuscan leather, ombre leather. Again, these are not mass appealing fragrances. And the reason why these fragrances often get discontinued is they just don't sell well. They're not mass appealing fragrances. I've never met a woman that liked leather fragrances. I'm sure they exist, but I've never met one. The Boss bottled Absolute is absolutely shocking. They included leather note, a strong leather note, in a designer fragrance Boss. So I just ordered myself a backup bottle because I don't know how long that's going to be around. If they're anything like Dior, they cancel and discontinue their leather fragrances quickly. But leather fragrances oftentimes react funky with sweat and heat. So leather and oud are typically notes that are reserved for colder weather or date night after hours wear, not during the spring, not during the summer. Next, we have the tobacco note profile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 13. And then I do have a bonus one at the end because I forgot to put in. Tobacco, also a very divisive scent. You either love it or you hate it. And just like everything else, there's tobacco, very strong fragrances, and then also tobacco in the base. I will say this though, tobacco's a very strong fragrance note, and so unlike leather, where you have to synthesize it, and you can make it leathery or not, and unlike, boozy notes, perhaps, there's no faking tobacco, and oftentimes when you utilize tobacco, it's pretty overwhelming. You can't hide the fact there's tobacco in it. So you typically see these tobacco fragrances kind of an all or nothing, very much tobacco, or it's like a go big, go home kind of thing. I'm either gonna put a ton of tobacco or I'm not gonna do a tobacco fragrance. Pure Havane, the brother to Pure Malt, which was discontinued. Great tobacco fragrance. But you have the tobacco, and then you typically have red notes, and a red note's very popular to use is cherries. So cherries and tobacco, cherry tobacco goes exceedingly well together. Cherry tobacco is, a flavoring that they have for, rolling your own cigarettes and whatnot. Very, very good. And you also have vanilla, one of the most popular, if not the most popular, tobacco fragrance, tobacco vanille. Tobacco fragrances can be sweet. They can be sweet by design or sweet because of the accompanying fragrances. And the best tobacco fragrance I've ever smelled to this day, other than Tobacco Vanille, is from the house of Mancera. And this is red tobacco. This is a gorgeous fragrance, gorgeous bottle, and another example of why you can't trust the red to simply mean spicy, because this is not a spicy fragrance. This is a cherry red tobacco fragrance, and probably the best tobacco, heavy tobacco fragrance. It smells just like you're in a cigar lounge. This is $80. If you are a consumer of tobacco, you love tobacco like me. I'm allergic to nicotine. I used to smoke a pipe, and now because of my allergy, I can't do that anymore. So I love this. I light up when I smell this. If you like tobacco, you will love this fragrance. $80. Now this is another one of those, be careful. Don't wear this on a date night if you don't know how the date's gonna respond. Very divisive note. Tobacco. This is not office friendly. This is not wear it to a meeting friendly. This is not spray yourself down and trap a bunch of people in a room with you friendly. This will get you the most disgusted looks that you will ever see. This will get you the most compliments that you'll ever receive. It is just so very divisive. But a great fragrance nonetheless. Projects and performs wonderfully, as a lot of tobacco fragrances do. A tip with tobacco: this is not a note that does well on clothing. Same thing with oud. In order to get the most out of your tobacco, you have to put it on skin. Maybe it works well with your chemistry, comes alive, maybe not. I can't promise it. You try certain fragrances like Herod by Parfums Marley, sprayed on. There's no fragrance here at all. What the heck? I spent $200 for nothing. You spray it on skin, just comes to life. It's amazing. But tobacco and oud, particularly more so tobacco, are those types of fragrances. They do not come to life unless you put them on skin, which does create some problems if you are wearing a suit, as I am most days. But I've worn these during the day. In the cold is my favorite time to wear tobacco fragrances. In the cold during the day, always nighttime friendly, all across the year, all year. As long as you're wearing it at night, you're good. I wouldn't want to wear this during the hot times of the year. During the day in spring and summer, I just wouldn't even bother it. And it is a mature fragrance. So like these boozy fragrance, spicy fragrance, the tobacco fragrance, the Gourmands, they're just not going to benefit someone who's a teenager, right? You have to have a certain level of sophistication. It's like, how someone in their 40s would not benefit wearing Curve by Liz Claiborne? It's a very juvenile fragrance. So that's just something to chew about. There's also really good colognes and things that are very similar to red tobacco. Hunter Killer by Armand is a sweeter red tobacco. I would start with something like that. It's also very affordable, $20. And then Arco's Triumph of Bacchus is really good as well. The last one I just want to mention, because it is a legitimate type of fragrance, is the white florals. In my last video, I unboxed 100 Silent Ways by Nichane. They had every type of white floral in there, and actually one of the most popular types of fragrances is the white florals, right? The jasmines. I don't think jasmine's a white floral. I just looked that up. As far as the floral notes, often combined with white florals. But Lily of the Valley is one thing that's used a lot. So very feminine, though. I mean, you're talking about something that is incredibly, incredibly feminine, and it's hard to shake. I'll often say that that's probably also something that is used a lot as when they say they're having allergic reactions and it gives them headaches and stuff, a lot of times white floral, and I was right. Should have trusted my gut. Jasmine is a white floral. But you also have orris, gardenia, and tuberose is also very common. There's entire fragrances devoted to tuberose and neroli. So, just mention that white florals are way too feminine for me. I do not like them on women. They don't disgust me or repulse me. I just don't find them appealing, and most men would not want to wear a white floral fragrance. So, that's it, everybody. This video was way too long. I apologize, but this is ASMR, right? People like the longer videos. So, almost an hour and 20 minutes, holy cow. But I'm gonna continue making these viewer suggested videos. I have a couple more to do. There's a little bit more time and effort that goes into viewer suggested videos. That's why when I get a suggestion, I don't put them out right away. It takes a little bit of time for me to prepare the videos. But I very much appreciate the suggestions, and if there's people that are being brought into the fragrance community because of my ASMR, that's just awesome. It's a great community with some amazing people and also some awful people, so what we need to do is just keep